I really appreciate so much that everyone has come on time. There are still those who have registered who maybe have been delayed, but let's begin. My name is Miriam Naiman, a senior advisor in the Post-Aliyah Answers and Advocacy Department at Nefesh B'Nefesh. I'm joined by two of our co-workers, Aviva Goldberg and Aliza Graben, who will be here with me on the back end. Before I introduce our presenters from Natal this evening, just a couple of things. For those of you who are participating, this is being recorded and will be sent to you. So if you know someone who told you that they registered but they're not going to come and they just want to have sent the recording to them, they're not going to receive it. This is a very sensitive, very personal type of webinar, and it's for you, those of you who have taken the time to attend. Please place all questions and answers, questions, you will be answered, questions in the Q&A. The chat is going to be used for any resources as well as any joint participation. Should our presenters ask questions that they want to see your answers, that is something that you can put in the chat. Please note, if you're not comfortable to use your name, because this is a very sensitive topic, you can also always post something anonymously. I'll take a moment now, thank you, to introduce Natalia Peretz and Liat Horan from Natal, who will be our very special presenters this evening. Thank you so very much for joining.
Thank you, Miriam. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Liat, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me well. I'm Liat Horan. I live in the south, in Eliav. I'm a therapist and a group leader. I work in Hosan Sderot, and today I'm here with you from Natal, and we will meet you and hear from you. How are you today? So I'm happy to be here.
So my name is Natalia Peretz. I'm an educational psychologist and a trauma specialist, and I'm a group facilitator also in Natal. And I also live in the south of Israel, and not far from Liat. So we're here this evening to also give you some tools and also just to have a free discussion. It will basically be, there will be two parts to our meeting. One part where we'll have a presentation, which will be giving you some thoughts, and then there will also be a part of the meeting will also be a free discussion where we'll be able to discuss that. So let's begin. Let's just say a few words about Natal. Let me just go on my presentation, but say a few words about Natal and then continue. Okay. So we're basically here this evening to talk about islands of resilience and coping with traumatic situations at the moment. And we're going to define stress and resilience. We're going to talk about a few intervention methods for coping with stress. Just a few words about Natal. So Natal's mission is to lead the field of resilience in Israel to advance treatment for victims of trauma from through integrative, innovative treatments, research, public awareness, shaping policy, and removing stigmas and disseminating knowledge in Israel and globally. There's also a Natal Global. Why is it not? Okay. So just to say a few words about the core services of Natal. We have a 24/7 helpline. Just to give you an example, in the first 24 hours after the Horan attacks, there was over 650 phone calls. The helplines, there are volunteers that they get the calls, and there are social workers that help them with the calls. There's also a clinical unit which gives private therapy for people who are dealing with trauma. And through the clinical unit, there's also a career development unit to try and get back into the care again. And we are here from the community unit, which works on building resilience in communities, teaching doctors, nurses, psychologists, social workers, and communities how to be more resilient and to have more coping skills. We also have scaling mechanisms. So we're also working on development and innovation, as I was saying, on an Israeli and on a global level. Most of our interventions are research. They're followed up. There's follow-up research and evaluation. And we also have a multidisciplinary trauma study center, which therapists come and study trauma studies. Natal Global, which gives over also resilience workshops all over the world. And of course, raising awareness. Well, that's just a few words about Natal. But now we really want to just stop with all the technical things, and we want to really talk to you tonight. So I'm going to hand over to Liat.
Okay, great. Thank you, Natalia. So let's take a moment to ourselves. Those crazy days, let's take a moment. Let's take deep breath in. Let's put our leg on the floor. We will do together something like grounding, okay? For a few minutes, let's put our leg on the floor and we will take deep breath in. And very slowly we will exhale out, but very, very slowly we will breathe out. Very slowly. Take all the air you have inside and take it out. Okay, we will do it once again. Let's breathe in together and breathe out. And we will ask you to write on the chat from 1 to 10. Okay, rate your tension at the moment. How much tension do you feel right now from 1 to 10? And please write it on the chat for us. Just a number. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 4. So Jason just wrote 5. Great. Thank you, Jason. And Sarah, 9. Vicky, 7. Okay, 7. Can we ask you to open your camera, your video for 1 second, just to see you? Is it possible? Miriam, can we see them if they...
I will ask our technical support if that's possible.
So never mind. We won't waste time for it.
Okay.
So we can see there is all kind of numbers, 6, 7, 8, 10, 4. 10 is a lot of tension, but we can see there are a few, 3, okay, and 4, 5, it's something in the middle. Natalia, can you give a number? How are you today? Now, at the moment, how are you?
Right now, at this moment, I would say I'm about a 6, but yesterday I was a 4 and the day I was an 8. It keeps moving.
Yeah.
It's
keep
very
moving.
fluid. It changes all the time.
Exactly. So that's the point, and that's the main thing we are going to talk about tonight. It's keep moving and it's changing, and it's like waves in the sea, and we can find ourselves in a very, very high tension in 10, and we can find ourselves in 2, and we will speak about the things that help us to take the tension a bit lower, to take the tension a bit down in the scale. So,
Liat,
Natalia,
can I expect to get to 0? Can I expect to get to 0?
I don't know. I think that 0, it's maybe it's not a good thing to be in a 0. Don't you think?
Why do I need to be a bit stressed now? What's going to help me?
Because it's keep you alive. I think it's keep you alive. It's keep you like you want to do something when you feel alive. It's not zero. Maybe when we are sleeping, we want to be zero. But when we are awake, we want to be awake.
Okay. So you're saying that some kind of stress and some kind of anxiety right now can actually help me function, right?
I think so.
Okay, great. So our aim is really to try and get everyone to realize that it is fluid, it can move, it's not stagnant, it's not going to stay on the same number, but it is good for us to sort of get a concept of what we are feeling today. A lot of people were asking me, even parents from overseas were asking me, to ask my child all the time, how they doing in Israel? How they doing? How are you? But that's a very difficult question to answer right now. But maybe if we say a number or we say a color, what color am I right now? It is a little bit easier to conceptualize and to answer, and also to realize that it's fluid, and it moves. So let's just put back on there. Okay. So we have different resources. Basically, we've learned them over the years. We weren't necessarily born resilient, but as we grew up, so we seem to put in our backpack all kinds of coping resources. Maybe we learned to stand in a queue without pushing the person in front of us. Maybe we learned to wait at a traffic light without hooting and at the person in front of us. And maybe we even learned that if we fall from our bicycle when we're small, that we learn to sort of fight back the tears and just take a deep breath and carry on riding on with our kind of coping resources that we learn over the years as we grow up. And as people get older and older, they gain more coping resources from the world around them. And when we're adults, often it's a very active process. We'll go to, we'll go to meditation classes, we'll go to mindfulness classes, we'll do active things to help us build up our coping resources. People go to couple therapy, people go to individual therapy, people meet friends. People do different things. They go for a run in the morning, build up their physical ability to cope. So people do this to build up the coping resources. And then what happens is as soon as we meet a task or a challenge, so our body and our brain knows which coping resources which drawers to open and which coping resources to take out in order to help us deal with the task or the challenge that's at hand. So what happens in an emergency situation? In an emergency situation, often the tasks and challenges that we have to deal with becomes heavier than our coping resources. So if we're waking up 3 times a night because of sirens, and on top of that, we're also maybe dealing with some kind of like some kind of disease or some kind of family issues or maybe some issues at work. So we have more tasks and challenges than what we're used to having. And our coping resources may not be enough. So suddenly the stress is heavier and we feel out of balance. And what does it look like when we feel out of balance? Maybe let's even go back to the chat. I'm going to go back and forth because I really want to hear you. So let's just write in the
Natalia
chat.
and Ohad wrote us a question.
We'll look at that in a second.
Can you see the question?
I can. I'll look at the question in 1 second. What I just wanted to ask in the chat is what does it look like for you when the tasks and challenges are heavier than your coping resources. What does it look like for you? Some people will say, I get more angry more easily. What does it look like for you? How does someone else outside know that the tasks and challenges at hand at the moment are heavier than your coping resources? What does it look like? So you can just write in the chat. The bare anger. I get headaches. I get terrible headaches. Really bad panic attacks.
Overwhelmed and
Fear.
fear, irritable.
Withdrawal headaches. Withdrawal.
I need to be alone and isolate.
Asthma. Asthma.
Yeah.
If someone raises their hand, does that mean they want to say something? Miriam, how does that work?
Yeah, please don't raise your hand. Please just write your answer in the chat. Or if you have a question, very soon, Natalia is going to pay some time to the questions that are in the Q&A, and you can put your question in the Q&A. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, someone wrote something really interesting. It's
Geula
hard
wants.
to plan ahead. Yeah, Geula will write in the question or in the chat. So someone wrote something really, Vicky said it's hard to plan ahead, even for meals, or hard to anticipate needs, exhausted more than usual, feeling overwhelmed, short of patience, foggy brain, hard to focus. You know, I'm reading all of this, Liat, and I'm going, oh, me too, me too, me too,
Yeah,
me too.
me too. Tired. Who is not tired at the
Tired.
moment? All of us.
Thick in my belly, deeply fatigued. Clenched jaw, yes, that also, like this. Often when sleeping also, people seem to grind their teeth at night. Difficulty focusing. Hey, claustrophobic. Being in the mamad is claustrophobic.
Helpless. I hate feeling that way. Trouble sleeping. Oh.
Even when there are no sirens, trouble sleeping. Yeah, I got you. Okay. So I think, you know, people wrote here a lot of different things, but I think a lot of people, you know, you may be looking at what other people wrote and say, oh gosh, that also happens to me, short-tempered, worried. I don't know if my lack of focus has to do with the situation. I'm just one of the two. Okay, so there are lots of different symptoms, and we can see that there are lots of very physical, a lot of physical symptoms, right? Sore belly, headaches, clenched jaw. And there are also sort of cognitive symptoms like being worried or thinking or, you know, mentally draining. Okay, let's just have a look what that is. How do we get ourselves back to sleep after waking with a start? Is it okay if we talk about this now? Sorry, that's very South African of me just now. In a while.
As long as you saw it and that it will be attended to.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Let's talk about some of the things. Maybe that might even give you an answer, and if not, then we'll definitely. Okay. So what is a traumatic event? It can be a sudden threat to life. It breaks the continuity. It could be breaking cognitive continuity, physical continuity. Like if I'm used to, it's as if like my washing machine would break. Right? My washing machine would break and I couldn't carry on doing my washing. So I would feel a breaking of continuity. So it's like a breaking of continuity because we might be working normally and the children might be at home and you know, can't go to the shops as normal. So these are the things that break our continuity. We're not sleeping in a normal pattern. So this is the breaking of continuity, and that's very important because we'll talk about how to build that continuity. sometimes it can also undermine our basic assumptions. Like if we've got a basic assumption that the world's a safe place or nothing will happen to me, so our basic assumptions become undermined. And often it's characterized by feelings of loss of control, difficulty organizing, and basic decline in functioning. And as I say, this is being it's very confusing because people sometimes now watching television or seeing things, on the internet, and they're feeling a threat to their life, although maybe they weren't actually physically at the traumatic event, but it feels like it happened to them. So it can often have the same effect. Liat, do you want to continue, or should I continue?
Yeah, maybe the first thing we want to say, the first tool we want to give you is to watch less television, to put down your phone, put it aside, and don't watch the news, don't listen to the radio. Just put it aside and be, and whatever you are doing right now, just be. Because the media is telling us all the bad things that are happening at the moment, but we want to be alive. Like, for an example, right now we are together at the webinar. You listen to us. We want to hear you, and this is what happened at the moment. If we will go to our cell phone every moment and we will see Ynet or ערוץ 14, whatever it is you're watching, it's not the reality. It's only part of the reality. But we can be at the moment. We can look outside of the window and we can see the flowers and the trees and the sky. And it's also the reality. We can be with our children and it's also the reality. So it's a choice to look on the news all the time, to leave the television. Yesterday, Natalia, I had the conversation with one of my patients, and only at the end she told me that she can't sleep during the night. She sleep like half an hour every night. Only at the end of our conversation she told me that the television is working all night long. Just she leaves the television open, and that's the way she want to sleep. How can we sleep when we see the news all the time, when we see the horrible picture? So it's a decision to put it aside and to do something else. Natalia, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I can continue. I just want to add to that the visuals, specifically the visuals, they go into our brain and they often take over even when we're asleep. So a lot of people will say that they're having, horrible dreams or not nice dreams right now. So that really is, it is a bit of self-control. I would say even just, it is important to be in touch and to know what's going on, but maybe to choose one time during the day that you just want to like catch up on what's going on, and maybe just read it in headlines and as little visuals as possible, because it literally drips into our brain function. And as we know, our brain function also changes during stress. What happens is the neocortex shuts down and the limbic brain basically takes command, and we start being in survival response. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about fight, flight, and freeze. Today, we also talk about another F, which is fraternity. These are survival responses. Years ago, when people had to fight off, when people were cavemen and they had to fight off a big bear in the cave, so they had to decide either they were going to fight, or they were going to freeze in the spot, or they were going to fly away. They were going to run away from the danger. And these are survival responses. And when this happens, you need to tell your body that your body is so busy, that your body is just responding exactly how it is supposed to respond in a stressful situation. And there's nothing wrong with you if if you suddenly freeze or you suddenly feeling more angry. A lot of people will feel all kinds of symptoms, like they start shaking, or they start sweating, or suddenly their mouth gets really dry. So these are survival responses, and it's just your brain being very, very clever. Your brain is functioning perfectly. You need to be able to tell yourself, my brain is functioning well. What happens is we often, specifically now also, we go into a safe area, we go into a shelter or into a safe room, and we don't run anymore, okay? But the siren is still going on, and our body is still sending us a message, continue to run, continue to run. Why aren't you running away from the danger? So what I suggest in that situation is to run on the spot, because otherwise your body might start shaking, or you might feel like you want to vomit, or you may suddenly feel a huge need to go to the toilet. And that is just your brain functioning perfectly, but you stopped on the spot. You're not moving. So it's really a good idea to even just run on the spot. As silly as it looks, if you're in a public shelter, run on the spot does the job. It's answering your brain. Thank you, brain, for sending me survival responses. And I'm doing what you've told me to do. So as I was saying, do you want to add something to that? We can't hear you well. Liat, we can't hear you. You just check your
Natalia,
internet
maybe.
connection?
Natalia.
Okay. Yes. Oh dear. We can't hear Liat. We'll wait for Liat to come back.
I'll
So,
just check in with her.
okay, thank you. So similar to what you all wrote on the chat, right? Aggression, depression, crying, anger, trembling, hypervigilance, sleeplessness, confusion. It's actually really similar to the things that you all wrote on the chat. Often we can feel a high pulse and disorientation, feeling detached. And often we can feel numbness, maybe in our hands and feet, and a deep fear. And just everything feels like a big chaos. Let's talk about the detachment, because after the 7th of October, people were taken out of their homes to the hotels, and they had children that they needed to change the diaper or give them food to eat, right? Or basic functioning that they needed to do. And so here in this kind of situation, the detachment was actually helping them to function, because if they were feeling not detached, if they were feeling the same fear that they felt when the terrorists came into their kibbutz, so they wouldn't be able to change the kid's diaper or give the kid something to. So sometimes the detachment in a very high stress situation can actually be very helpful. It can help us to do our basic functioning, but obviously we do not want to stay in a detached stage. We want to be able to reconnect. It's like skipping, right? When you skip, you've got to pick up one leg and then you put it back down. So you detach, then you reconnect, right? And you move a little bit forward. So we can sort of think of the metaphor of skipping, that the detachment has a function in helping us being functional and help us to do the day-to-day things that we need to do. Have a fun, make ourselves something to eat, do what we need to do in order to be functional. But it is very important to see how we reconnect to the situation so that we don't stay and get used to staying in a detached situation. So that's just very important. Okay. Let's just check if there are any questions. Liat, you back?
Yeah, I think so.
Were you going to say something a second ago? And then I didn't shut off.
Before you talked about the symptoms, I just wanted to say that we are talking about the vagus nervis, that we want to activate the vagus nervis. And
Nerves.
Nerves, yeah. And if we want, for an example, if we breathe in and breathe out, so that's the way we can calm ourselves down. We can be
Liat, we can't hear you
much
well.
more relaxed if we're breathing, if we're dancing. You can hear
You
me
keep
well,
breaking
Natalia?
up. Well, it comes on and off, but now we can hear you.
So,
Okay, continue.
so I don't know, something with the internet. Never mind.
I know,
Maybe
but
you
you've
will
got so
continue.
many very clever things to say, so we want to hear you also. So just talking about the
Yeah, so we
okay.
will find a
So just
way.
talking about what Liat reminded us with the vagus nerve. So just like a very simple way to calm yourself down, it is so simple. You can just take your hands, you can even practice it right now. Take your hands and just warm them up like this. And then just put them on your cheeks like that. Just warm yourself up.
And maybe we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just press
Let's
really
try and
hard.
do it like really, yeah, push our hand
Okay.
and then. And once again.
So when you were gone, Liat, we were talking about the detachment that can actually help us be functional, because we have to be detached from what's going on. If we were mentally attached to what's going on now, we wouldn't be able to function. So we need to detach ourselves. And that just reminded me that I was treating during Sukkot someone with a dissociative, they were totally dissociative. They sort of like almost fainted like that. And I did really, really strong, sort of like pressing, really strong into their hands. And that's what helped them to reconnect to themselves and to refunction. So any strong, strong massaging in your hands, and also here behind your neck. If you press really hard here behind your neck, that can also get the vagus nerve going. But my favorite one is just going like this, warming up myself, and easy ways to just help yourself relax in order to continue functioning. Okay, let's just see the question. Okay, so let's just talk about maybe the question that's how do we get ourselves back to sleep after waking with a siren? So that's sort of connected. I think, we were talking about the coping mechanisms, and that coping mechanisms can be learned, right? It's a learned ability. So a lot of these things we need to practice. So we can practice mindfulness on a day-to-day basis. Mindfulness is just being aware of what's going on right here and now. So maybe if I'm eating something, or maybe if I'm drinking something, or maybe if I'm looking at a specific object, or we can even stop and listen if there's a certain sound that we can hear around us, or there's a certain smell. Even right now, just maybe just stop for a moment, see if there's something that you can listen to, if you can hear a noise around you. You can hear the birds going to sleep, maybe you can hear something. And maybe
you can
there's
write
something.
it on the chat, the things you can
Yes.
hear right now. Maybe
Yeah.
just write it on the chat.
And maybe you can just look around and see, try and pay attention to 3 new items in the room that you haven't looked at them before. 3 new items that you weren't aware that they're in the room. Just pay attention to them right now. You can also write it in the chat if you like.
Wind, birds, kum boiling. Beautiful sounds.
And even you can just try and touch two different types of textures around you right now. So it might be a cold table or, piece of clothing, something around you, two items around you that you can just touch and feel them right now. Just feel the difference. They might have a different temperature. They might have a different texture. And maybe one thing that you can smell around you, maybe a certain smell that you have around you right now. Oh, Miriam, we forgot to mention right at the beginning that if there will be a blah on your phones, that we will stop the webinar, although it will be recorded. We'll stop the webinar for the time that's needed to go to the safe room and until the home front allows us to leave the room, and then we will restart the webinar. But of course, if anyone, might miss a few minutes, so they'll be able to re-see it.
Thank you. You're correct. I forgot.
We forgot to mention. I don't know how I suddenly remember. You see, I'm being mindful and my mind is going to what if. Okay, so the fridge motor and the sound of the aircon and different textures, warm tea and crunchy crackers. So these kind of things, practicing being mindful, can really calm the body and can really help us just to be mindful for what we can feel right now. And it can help you fall back asleep. So even if you're just lying in bed and you want to sort of, switch off your thoughts. So this is a very, very helpful way. We'll even send, that specific, how do you say, talgil. We'll just send it to Miriam, and she'll send it out also, because that is something.
In addition to mindfulness, someone is asking what other types of things. Natalia, I know when I can't fall asleep, sometimes I'm waiting. Is there going to be a azaka? Is there going to be a warning? Maybe I shouldn't fall asleep just in case. But then I know my body is tired, and what I do is I actually walk through my childhood home. It's a very good memories for me, and I walk in my mind through the front door. Even in my mind, I can smell certain things that give me very nice, what I tell my grandchildren, warm fuzzies. It makes me feel good. So what other kinds of exercises can people do?
So firstly, also some people like to make a falling asleep playlist. There are all kinds of ready playlists on Spotify. You can just write going to sleep playlist, and it's just very calming music that it's obviously been chosen to calm down the brain. Liat, do you have any other ideas of ways to fall back asleep?
Some people like go and do some cooking in the kitchen. Some people like go and eat something with sugar or to drink their coffee. You have to know yourself and the things that makes you calmer. So it's depend who are you and to get to know yourself. But every method that you will do with your body will help your body to relax, to take the tension to another place. So maybe take a bath, maybe go and do something with your hand, whatever it is you can do to put the tension aside.
So May also said that reading helps her and gets her sleepy. I think reading, it also sort of makes your eyes go like this. I lost about half a page. But it can also take our thoughts to totally different worlds, specifically, depending what you're reading. But if you're reading totally fantasy book that's got nothing to do with anything, don't read murder books right now. That shouldn't be the genre. But if you're reading something that can be very distracting, and also there was another question about being ready in order to save time. So, I really think that really depends. It depends how far your shelter is. It depends if you like wearing socks or not, or like people are okay with going down with sort of like kafkafim. And some people like to have a bag ready. Maybe that makes them. I was in the hotels the other day with the people that are being displaced from Bat Yam and Ramat Gan, and they were actually told by people to get a bag ready. So maybe that made them feel calmer that they do have that bag ready, that they've put important papers in that bag. So it's just it's actually the readiness actually helps, can help and calm. Ohad says it's safer for them with sleep. So, if that's to make you sleep and make you feel more calm. So, sleep on what helps you to feel more calm, less concerned about, whatever needs to be done in order to get to a shelter. So
There
we'll
is
actually
no
talk about
right or
readiness.
wrong, Natalia, right? There
Right.
is no right or wrong.
No,
And when you were talking, I thought it's quite similar to go and give birth when a woman is prepare herself to giving birth. So some of the women have a bag next to their door and they know they're ready, and some women just want to do their own things and keep going with their life. So it's depend who are you, but you have to know yourself. It's part of the situation and it's part of the time we are being in. Just know yourself and know the things that can help you. This webinar tonight, this is our main purpose, to help you to get to know yourself and to know the things that can help you go through those days.
Okay, so we'll go back to the presentation, I think. So what else can be done? So we're actually just talking about the same thing, about what can be prepared in advance. It also helps us feel more orientated, organized, and also to think what helps me, but who else needs my help? Maybe there's a certain neighbor who needs my help, and then I can also feel very useful, right? And also what information can assist me. So maybe if I know that there are certain phone numbers, it's important that I have them on my phone. All these kind of things can calm me down, because then I know that I've got what I need available in terms of information, organization, orientation. And also we need to be able to mobilize our support resources. So, I think you've all figured out up until now that I'm South African. So all my friends, as most South Africans are spread all over the world. I've got friends in Australia, I've got friends in New Zealand, I've got friends in London, I've got friends in San Diego, I've got friends all over the world. And I needed to be able to say to my friends, I need you right now. I need the support. I need, even just send me silly, funny videos or whatever can distract me, because that's what I read right now. So being able to also tell our family and friends and neighbors what we need from them right now, um, people can't read your thoughts, and you need to mobilize those support resources. And of course, we want to be all the time focused on doing routine things that we used to doing to keep us functioning. Of course, maintaining home front command guidelines. Like, I know that I'll only go to a certain supermarket, which definitely has a very good and big shelter. But I want to be able to go out and do my shopping, because that's a routine thing that I'm used to doing that makes me feel normal. Liat, do you want to add anything about normalization? Liat?
Natalia, what can a
No,
person do? I just have a question for both of you. If a
Sure.
person's been displaced, how can they create normalization?
Normalization. So I definitely think, I don't know how it's going to work now in the hotels in Tel Aviv, but Definitely after October 7th. So like people were cooking in the kitchens. They wanted to be able to go into because that is a normal thing that they're used to doing. Um, taking on there in every hotel, there are social workers and there are people there trying to help, but people can take on, they can take on certain tasks that they're used to doing in order to maybe help others. So I saw lots of volunteers, for instance, folding clothes that had been given to the hotel. And so then I saw someone join in and said, I'd also like to come and help and fold the clothes. Because that's something routine. That's something that makes you feel normal. Or in another one of the hotels, she's an art therapist, and she said, I'd like to do a group for women tonight, because that's something she's used to doing. She's used to doing groups, art groups. So I definitely think very small, but very, small things, but things that you're used to doing in order to keep you functioning. But that you really need to take that. You need to take that and do it. Do what you're used to doing and see what you can offer to do.
Natalia, I think that everything we are talking about, it's all about taking control on your life.
Mm-hmm.
Taking control, and it's about routine. How can you have a routine even when you are displaced? Even when the kids are at home and not at school and in the kindergarten, how can you have a routine, something that will keep you busy, keep you in some kind of order? And Batzion asked us in Hebrew, so maybe I will do a mixture between Hebrew and English. She asked about the dissonance, about the gap between the feeling we have inside and between the outside, between the knowledge that there is a war, but everybody, almost everyone, keep walking and keep doing whatever they're doing. I mean, they're keeping the routine. And I personally think that this is one of the special things about being Jew in this world. I mean, we know that the reality is not stable. We know that what we have today, we have today. What will happen tomorrow, we don't know. We don't know. We cannot know what will happen in the future. But whatever it is that will happen, we will survive. We will find a way to live. We will find a way, and we know our history. We know that we have the resilience to build ourselves even when we are displaced, even when we move to another country. But we will find our community, we will find our tradition. Those are the things that will keep us normal, and they will hold our life like we knew them before the trauma, before whatever happened.
And we'll also talk about children, but just to mention that giving children tasks that they're used to doing at home, if they are at home, or even if they're displaced, giving them tasks, very small tasks, but tasks that make them feel like they're doing normal things, will help them feel in a routine and will help them feel like they're functioning. So we practiced right at the beginning, deep breathing and grounding. This is definitely something that you can practice and do also, by the way, about trying to get back to sleep. With about the grounding, so Liat mentioned trying to feel your feet on the floor. Also, if you're sitting on a chair, you can try and push your back into the back of the chair and feel the back of the chair. And just feel connected to the ground. It really helps the body connect. Some people need something sweet to eat, and some people even need something salty to eat. It really does change. And sometimes we need to do some kind of activation through questions. So maybe if you want to help someone around you, you can even let them. So you can say to them, you know, do you want chocolate ice cream or do you want vanilla ice cream? Give them a choice of two things, or do you want to make the bed together, or do you want to make it by yourself, or do you want to come here or do you want to go there? Like very simple actions, but as soon as you're actually choice making, it also connects to what Liat was saying about feeling in control. We want to complete missing information and
But
also to
Natalia,
create.
Natalia,
Yes.
they wrote such beautiful things in the chat. Maybe you can open the chat and we
Yeah,
will read
sure.
some of them because they wrote such beautiful things that I don't want to miss the things that they wrote.
Perfect. Okay, do you want to go through them?
No, maybe you will do it. I'm not sure about my connection, so maybe you will do it.
What people with functioning kitchens can open them up to displaced people so they can make their meals and feel normal. Yeah, I heard about people that are stuck overseas and that have given their hopes to displaced people, but people that are in a normal house. So at least that's useful. In
Yeah.
2017, I was evacuated because of a fire in California. Came back to the house, was burnt down. Leaving Tel Aviv last week with the go bag and then not knowing what the future held, brought back many feelings of previously been evacuated. How do we find normalcy in these weird, crazy times?
Oh, I wish we can hear Ohad. I wish we could do it. Miriam, can we do it? Because I feel that maybe from your experience, we can learn so much. So I wish we could do it.
No, we were asked by others also not to, others who are
Okay.
here. Everybody would rather stay anonymous, but Ohad answered. He answered what did help him.
I found simple
Um,
things like swapping the
Oh,
floor
like
in
sweeping
the
the floor
morning.
and
Yes,
okay, so he answered instead of us. That's perfect. I
yes.
was gonna say really simple things that just make me feel normal, brushing my hair, brushing my teeth, making an omelet,
My hair.
yeah. Just doing normal day-to-day things that I'm used to doing. Except doing washing because my washing machine is broken. But that's my
And
my
maybe it's not
laptop.
something you like doing. I mean, the washing, maybe something
But
else.
it would make me feel a bit more normal right now.
Yeah.
So that's just really simple things. But thank you that you paid attention to that.
Yeah, and but
So
Sion, maybe we will talk about it more later, but we can understand the dissonance that you're talking about. We can understand it. I used to live in Liverpool during the war. After the 7th of October, I used to live in Liverpool, and it was horrible for me to see people keep living and doing whatever they're doing, and to know that my heart is broken at the moment, and people are, I mean, they're going to their
their daily
pubs
lives.
and yeah, and doing shopping and whatever they're doing, and I'm in a different place. But in a way, it it took me back to the world. It took me back to the human being, because actually we want to be alive. We want to be part of the world, part of the people we live with. And the dissonance can make us feel like we are in a bad place. Like you talked about the anxiety. We can feel more anxiety sometimes, but I believe that during time it will help you, and it will help us to go back to do whatever it is we are doing, to keep walking, to keep do whatever we need to do with our children, with our families, with our community. People show us, like sometimes in Tel Aviv, you can feel it, that people go to the restaurant so quickly after the war pigua or something very horrible. You can see people go back to their pubs, to their parties. For me, it's like, it's give me the sign that we will live once again. We will live and we will be happy. So if you can look on that in that way, I mean, זה מסמן that we will live and we will be happy in a full way.
I just want to say, that scale that I put at the beginning, the scale with the tasks and the challenges and the coping mechanisms. So, you sort of just want to try and rebalance that. Like if you're feeling that it's feeling out of balance, so just stop for a moment and try and think. And also what I would recommend is that at this specific moment that, that you may be feeling less stressed, and maybe after this talk, even write down for yourself, what are your coping mechanisms? What coping mechanisms do you use? Because when it's visual, again, it's more available for us, and we can, it's just easier to remember. And just always try and think, how am I going to rebalance right now? There are challenges, and I've got coping mechanisms. I just need to rebalance that to get, I'm just thinking of that dissonance that you're mentioning, just to try and make it feel a little bit smaller. As we were saying with the numbers at the beginning, maybe I was an 8 2 days ago, and then I went down to a 4, and then I went up to a 6. I'm all the time aware where I am so that I can try and make that anxious and a little bit less stressful.
Yeah.
Can
Just
I
a
go
bit.
back?
We have to know it's only a bit, maybe just instead of an 8, we will be 7, but it's something. It's something
Something's moving. We're not stuck,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and this is what
it's
we
also
want.
it's also really important to make a narrative. And the narrative needs to have a beginning, middle, and an end. Okay. So, of course, this is a very long story. It's a story from 4,000 years, 3,000 years, right? But we're talking about specific incidents. So, just to make it in some kind of narrative, it's actually unbelievable. Research has found that if we take a traumatic event and we build it with a beginning, middle, and end. When I say the end, that the concrete event has ended, so it actually stored in a different part of our brain, and then there's a less likelihood that it will come up as a flashback, specifically during sleeping also, but it actually gets stored in a different part of our brain, and it enables us to be more in control if we want to if we want to decide that we want to bring up that memory won't just jump in front of us. So what one needs to do is make every event into a story. So I was sitting in my room, I got a Hotline on my phone, I went down to the shelter, I was with, whatever. I was with my friend, I was with my family, whoever I was with. There was the hazakah. We stayed in for 10 minutes. We heard a bing bang. It was very scary. And then once the home friend said we could leave, we left and we went back up to our flat. So that is it's completely missing information. It's a narrative of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it literally making these small stories, these narratives can help us store the events in separate part of our brain and much less likelihood for flashback. So that's very important. As I was saying about mobilizing support resources from family, so also to be able to say, excuse me just for a second, also to be able to say that, to others that we are with them and alone. So also that's on a social level, feeling together. Liat was talking about, the Jewish nation. So it's even on a smaller, it could be our building, or it could be my floor, or it could be my community, wherever I'm connected with, be able to feel part of a social community. And we've spoken about the last 2 points already, so I want to talk more about that. Do you want to continue, Liat? Or should I continue?
Yeah, maybe it's better that you will continue, Natalia, and I will just go in.
Just come in if you want to.
Yeah.
Liat's very clever. I really like it. We need to listen to what she needs to say. So there are 4 principles to help cope with stress. It's called the can cope model. which Natal is. So the canned Coke bottle is firstly calming. Okay, our arousal level is high. We need to increase our control over the arousal level, and every action can help with this falls under the principle of calming. So as we were saying, routine daily activities, drinking, showering, reducing exposure to media, and physical activity. Specifically, if people are used to doing physical activity, it's their way to release energy and to improve their mood. So there is so much, now that everything is Zooming all over the world. You can go into yoga Zoom, you can go into Pilates Zoom. There are so many different physical activities that you can do. That are on the internet, and if someone is used to doing that kind of thing by themselves, so it might be walking the dog up and down, maybe close to the home, doing things that you're used to doing to enable to release energy. And it is really known that physical activity can improve your mood and improve your ability to deal with
Natalia, I think it's
thoughts or
part of the knowledge that we are not victims of our feeling. There is something we can do. We can control our feeling in a way, not in 100%, but in a way we can do something. If we asked you at the beginning of the Zoom, how are you today? And you answered 9. So just know that there is a way to be less anxiety, less tension, to be more calm. It's something we can do. It's taking control on your life, is to do a research. What can help me? What can I do to help myself?
I think also, being in control, it's also important to be able to say what we're feeling. So, I need to be more exact, because maybe it feels like anger, but it's not actually anger. I'm feeling concerned or worried, and it's not actually anger. So be able to be a little bit more exact and give a name to what I'm feeling right now, and to give it a number, and then to how I can decrease that number, how I can make it less. Even another way of thinking about it is not, if some people are less connect to numbers, is to think like of an iceberg, and to try and think how high that iceberg is, how pointy it is, and then to try and imagine like sun coming out and slowly melting the iceberg. So what are the things that are in your sun right now that can help to slowly melt that iceberg and make you feel a little bit less distressed? Okay, so the other part of it's a petition, but I do want you to know the model, because often during emergency situations, we were saying that we can't focus and that we can't remember things, and our brain isn't as functioning as normal, concentration difficulties. So because this happens, sometimes it's easier to remember just a small word that can help you remember, okay, what's can cope again? It's calming, right? It's normalization. Like, just to have that small word, it takes up less brain space. So often during emergency situations, we use a lot of, how do you say, Rashi Tavot?
Initial.
Yeah, thank you.
Natalia.
Embarrassing.
Abbreviations.
Abbreviations, right. We use abbreviations because our brains are not as functional as they are used to being. And our reactions are related to the physiology of stress, and they're not always under our control. But as soon as we realize that they're normal reactions, then we can have far more control over them. Connection to society, as we were saying, making contact. By the way, also, it's unbelievable, but the function of hugging and just physical contact during this time and feeling connected, it even gives over it gives out happy hormones to our body and just makes us feel more calm, more connected with ourselves. So, it's all very dependent also on, in tradition and how people feel comfortable and who people have. But I met a friend the other day, and she gave me a hug, and then I said to her, I need another one. I need another hug. Just being able to have that can help. Liat, do you want to say something about physical?
Yeah, at the beginning of the Zoom, one of you wrote in the chat that he likes to be alone. When something bad happens, he likes to be alone in his room. So, well, yes, take the time and take the time for yourself. And if you want to pray, if you want to do meditate, do whatever you want to do alone, but find a way to be with other people, because we know the trauma, the sitra achra of trauma, this is really like the Satan of the trauma, I feel. She wants you to think that you are really alone. No one will understand you. You will be alone, and no one can understand whatever it is you are going through. And we want to deal with it. We want to fight against the way that the trauma wants us to think. We don't want you to think that you are alone and no one can understand you. When you're with another person, with a friend, with a neighbor, with one of your family, they can understand you, even if even if they are not at the moment at the same situation. People can understand you because they deal with something else. Their house was burned in 2017. They deal with something a few years ago, so they can understand you. And when you will talk about it, you will see you are together and you are not alone. So it's something that we want you to remember. Take the time, be with yourself, but find a way to be with another person, with your community, with your family, with your friends.
It could be during a group even, it doesn't necessarily need to be physical, but we do know that the physical connection can definitely help us with coping and calming down. I just want to go back to that question about the wildfire and then being displaced again and trauma on trauma, right? And I think a lot of Israelis have had trauma on trauma, or or dealing with a certain disease at the moment, and then on top of that, they've also been displaced. So with this trauma on trauma, we just really need to be aware of dismantling, sort of brick by brick, dismantling slowly. Certainly if we have a certain thought about something or a certain philosophy about something, people will often, I often hear more teenagers, they'll say, oh, it always happens to me, these kind of things, or these kind of sentences that we make up. We slowly dismantle these thoughts and just see what our needs are right now. But definitely when there's a stress on a stress, you need to be more careful and more aware, and more connected, to be able to be aware what you need and be able to mobilize and say what you need also in order to get the right support. We were also talking about skipping, right? About disconnecting and reconnecting ourselves, and making sure that by disconnecting and reconnecting, that when we skip, we always move forward. So there's also the principle of hope, thinking ahead. It could be really simple. So someone also said, like, it's difficult to plan a meal, right? But maybe again, if you write it down, then maybe it would be a bit easier to plan the meal, not to keep it in your brain, because our brains are all fuzzy at the moment. So to think ahead, to plan ahead, maybe what the meal is going to be. So it's close by. It's in a few hours' time, but it still opens up the ability to think of the future, think of hope, to think what will happen. And what what we can do to increase the sense of hope. So we may want to strengthen a certain muscle. When I mean a muscle, it's not necessarily a physical muscle. Maybe we want to strengthen a cognitive muscle. Maybe we want to be able to strengthen our ability to be disrupted. Maybe we want to strengthen our ability to help someone else. So we want to strengthen our muscles all the time in order to increase a sense of hope and a sense of sort of waiting for something, right? And also, as soon as we feel more capable and we feel more strong and we feel better at something, so then we can also feel more in control and that we are able to cope, that we can cope, right?
Yeah.
Liat,
like
do you want to add about
shifting-
hope?
Yeah, it's like shifting the spotlight to the hope. It's a decision that we can make to take the spotlight instead of the depression and the hard feeling we can feel. It's take the spotlight and to see something else. And maybe we can use the chat once again before we will say goodbye. And maybe we will ask you, what do you say, Natalia? Maybe we can ask them about the hope, things that help you to feel hope. What helps you to feel hope during those days? What gives you hope? Share us, because we want to increase our hope.
My hope is that my washing machine will be fixed.
My hope is about my internet be more stable.
Everything is temporary.
Yeah, amazing.
Hoping for peace.
For peace. Yeah, all of us with you.
You know, this too shall pass. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, hope can be far away, or it can be sort of something that we can't touch, or is like, you know, not in our control. I'd like you to also add things that are in your control, as active hope, like one thing that you're going to do in the next week that will give you more hope.
Yeah.
Like very concrete, very concrete. Like, I'm going to call the washing machine man tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
That's going to make my hope.
Great. That's great. Yeah. Maybe we can
So
think
we can
about one
definitely
thing we can do. Something we
to
can
remain
do.
positive.
Yeah. Go out more and be with others. Amazing. Remain positive. It's not easy.
About remaining positive, like just think, Rachel, or you know, what's one thing you can do to remain positive, like one concrete thing to do. Miriam, I hope that the Olim were meant to already arrive. Oh, they're Olim on the way.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Wow.
that's
Miriam.
exciting.
There's many, many Olim who are meant to arrive and are, you might think, some people would say, oh, I'm happy that I'm not in Israel now, but it's really the opposite. People are upset and people just want to be here already to be a part of history, but also to be a part of us, to be a part of the people.
Wow. Wow.
Take the dogs
Amazing.
for a
Wow.
walk.
Wow.
Meet neighbors around the block that I haven't met. Yeah, go say hello. Fabulous. Try and think of other concrete ways to remain positive or to create hope.
Yeah, hope is like something we can do. It's not just being positive. It's an action, right?
Right.
Humor. Wow, amazing.
Oh, we're going to finish by Viva telling us a joke. Cook a
Aviva,
nice meal for my family. Oh, Devin, what are you going to cook? Let us know what you're going to cook.
send other people messages that might be feeling lonely, and then listening to music. Yeah, great. Music is a great way. Play with the baby.
Oh, bolognese.
Yeah, sometimes hope look like bolognese. Surround
Round
yourself.
yourself with pets. All the puppies and kittens.
The Jewish DNA, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Jason,
think
just
that
think how you're gonna keep up your Jewish DNA. What are you gonna do to keep up your Jewish DNA?
exactly. I think that sometimes just cry, let yourself cry. It's a good thing to help ourselves just to feel something. Make more Jewish babies.
Oh, you're funny. Okay. Yeah, that's very active, Jason. Mm. Oh, making shidduchim in the shelters. That's funny.
Great. Yes, shidduch. Shidduch and then
Ah.
babies. Jason, you have the whole plan.
Yeah, I just went to a Nova Festival wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, they survived the Nova and they ran with each other and they just looked at each other and said, if we survive, we're gonna get married. So that's what they did.
Wow.
Making chocolate chip cookies and handing out to my Eritrean neighbors, some
So
Israeli
simple
neighbors.
and so brilliant together. Really, so simple. Just look for the simple things in life. Smell the flowers in bloom now. Hug a tree. Hear the birds. Yeah, the nature help us to remember that we are also part of nature.
Yeah, I always find it unbelievable that like when whatever's going on here in the country, the birds still wake up in the morning. They
Yeah,
still go and do what they need to do. They go build their nests. They go to sleep at night. They're still functioning.
yeah.
Okay, so should we start summing up or any
Yeah,
questions
I think
before,
so.
maybe let's just give a moment for any questions in the Q&A. Any last questions before we start?
I think people have opened up discussion here in the chat. I don't see anything specific in the Q&A. If you wanted to give a small sikum, a small summary, I think that we've all been able to walk away with something more in our pocket than we had an hour and a half ago. And on behalf of Nefesh B'Nefesh and everyone who attended, I think both of you were really in such a challenging time, historic time, personally challenging, community-wide challenging, and you've given us all a place for some of our emotions. If you wanted to give a bit of a summary.
Liat, should we summarize it?
Yeah, Natalia, go ahead. I will join you.
Okay, so we also spoke about being able to recognize what we're feeling right now and to give it some kind of a measurement how much we're feeling right now in order to be able to make it feel less. And we also spoke about
Natalia, so to walk with our body, to feel our body. Okay? The story is inside our body. So to feel the tension, where is it exactly? Where is it placed? And then to take the breathe in and try to open the body.
and also to know that the symptoms that we are feeling, it just means that our body is being very clever and that our brain is being very clever and that our brain is functioning perfectly. And if we are having these symptoms, so it means that we are functioning perfectly. And we just need to be able to learn to recognize the symptom, to say what it is, and to know what I need in order to calm down. Maybe I need a friend. Maybe I need a hug. Maybe I need to eat the chocolate chip cookie whenever I hold chocolate chips cookies. Maybe I need to hug a tree. Maybe I need to phone a friend. Maybe I need to listen to one of Elisa's jokes. But
maybe I need to do, maybe I need to go and do some Jewish babies, like Ohad
yeah,
suggested.
maybe.
But the thing is to take control of our life and to take control of our hope, private and national, to take control back, because the trauma take the control out. And we want to take the control. We want to be we want to be the person, lenahel. How can I say it in English, Natalia?
To
To manage,
manage,
exactly. To
we want to
manage.
manage. We want to manage our emotions. We want to be in control, and we can choose things. You know, to choose chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, or to choose things that helps us feel more in control. And we learned the Can-Cope model. You know, calming, normalization, and just keeping the hope. And the hope can be very sort of like, you know, hoping for peace, but that isn't something that is in control. You know, I call it active hope, just being able to choose something that I'm actively going to do, which will help me think about the future and help me to create more hope. And yeah, we just, you know, we just keep going. We've got an amazing nation. Just keep, and I just, you know, I think, thank you for all joining us tonight, because it means you made that time for yourself. You chose to be in control and make that time. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, everyone. As mentioned at the beginning, this session was recorded and will only be sent to those who participated. So if you have a friend who registered and didn't participate, they lost out and you really gained. I wish all of us a safe, quiet, and peaceful night. Kol Tuv.
Night. Thank you.